Hello, writers. This is Rad coming to you from Rad Notes Book Coaching. And today we're going to talk about doing some scene writing and how we're going to use the power of suspense, conflict, and tension within each scene. So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about what an actual scene is. So, your novel is made up of multiple dozens of scenes that are all interconnected that reach to the final goal or destination. Your character in each scene wants something. So let's go to the point of view. So it's going to be one character. Now, some of you might be writing a novel with maybe 8 character points of view if that's your fancy. But when you're getting to a scene, it's just one of those person's point of view where they're going to have some interaction, some reflection. Will they accomplish and get what they want that's stated from the beginning of the scenes moving to the end? We'll get more into that, but stay with me here. So your point of view is important. You know, you have a middle, a beginning, and an end, just like a short story. Now we're going to add in, you need to make sure that you add in some world building. So that's really just a fancy way of saying setting, let's be honest. So it doesn't matter if you're a science fiction writer talking about future cool little techie stuff, or if you're a romance writer. Let's use a romance writer, for example, as world building to help understand what is world building in a contemporary styled book. So let's say it's at a five-star restaurant. The world that you're building is what you're setting up for the reader. So in this case, the linens are exquisite. The wait staff caters to your every move. There's just slight tinking of silverware in the background, or maybe a little muffled sound of conversation. That's world building for that scene, just to make that clear. Now, in a whimsical magical forest, sure, there's a whole different sense of world building with your magics and what the forest looks like and different things, but ultimately you're still setting a scene for your readers to really get focused and drawn into where you're at, where this scene starts. Now, moving into the actual character and how this is going to work is you're going to need some action, reaction, and reflection. So let me explain. There's a combination of action, reaction, reflection. It creates suspense, tension, and conflict. So every scene is a progression of the main character's developmental arc. Every main character should have a constant state of action or conflict in every scene. They should have a reaction, which is a highly emotional response to that conflict. So maybe it's in the form of dialogue where your main character, your point of view main character, is having an argument via dialogue with their antagonist, someone who's trying to stop them from getting what they're doing, what they want. And then finally, they're going to have a little bit of reflection. So that reflection could be a lot of unresolved issues about the conflict that just occurs, which leads to tension in that reader. So when you combine all three of the action, the reaction, and the reflection, you're going to have unresolved issues, setbacks, failures. All of this keeps the reader turning the page. And then that final last portion of your scene is that wicked twist that says to that main character says, I ain't done yet. And that's the fun part. That's the part where they keep going because your readers need to know what happens at the end. So you want to give them a little, you want to give them an obstacle, and then they have to determine how to push through to the next scene. So this is just kind of an easier way to look at it is action is conflict. Okay, reaction is the emotional response to that conflict. And again, your reflection are the unresolved issues about that conflict. And all three of these in a scene is going to create your suspense, your tension, that keeps the reader moving to the next scene, which is going to have all those same things again. So think of your scene as a short story within itself. So let me give you a little writing exercise that might help you to get those juices flowing. So think about the manuscript that you have, and maybe there's a dead spot, there's a slow spot, there's a boring spot. No one wants boring. Take that scene and think of it as its own short story. Does it have a beginning? Does it have a middle? And does it have a twist of an ending, a hook to keep the reader reading forward? Do you have one particular point of view? Do you have you built your world building or your setting so your reader can really dive into what you're letting them know? So don't think about when you're writing this scene, the dead part of your scene, don't look at what was before or what after it. Just focus on whatever how many pages you do of one scene in one place where your protagonist or your main character, the point of view of that scene, is trying to accomplish something. There's conflict, something gets into the way. They have a reaction to it, and then finally they're going to come up with the reflection of, but now I'm going to do it better. So take some time to really to work on that, because your narrator is going through an emotional roller coaster, and you want to show the reader that they're devastated, but again that they're going to continue moving forward. So work on that. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me an email. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe down below. I appreciate your time today. Peace.